Today we're talking new Call of Duty 6 first impressions, a new Monster Hunter beta is on the way, and Netflix is closing its biggest game studio. Plus, is the upcoming Assassin's Creed game in more trouble than we thought? Stick around to find out. Welcome, friends, to this week's episode of Good Playing With You, the weekly gaming podcast. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by our good playing good buddies, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
And Matt Maulding.
Hey now.
Before we jump into the headlines, let's check in with my brotherly brigade of Matts and find out what everyone's been playing this week. Lord?
Oh man, it's been a good week of Silent Hill 2 remake. Getting some
how
of that.
Is it?
It's honestly really good, you guys. I'm liking it a lot. I didn't think they were going to be changing so much, especially at the beginning of the game. And they added some new puzzles and new kind of workarounds. They streamlined it a little bit in a good way. I'm liking it a ton. I think it looks really good. It plays really fun. Anybody who's fan of like an RE4 over the shoulder type of deal will love it. Dan, I think this is going to be right up your alley.
I can't wait. I know we touched on it just a tad last week because you had just started it. And my question last week still remains, how is the combat? Because it was so janky in the last one, and I really want this one to be good.
I've gotten into the combat now, and I've been just planking these monsters. And I gotta say, it feels good. It actually feels like it has a lot of weight to it. You have a cool little like dodge mechanic that is also new, and the dodge feels good. The monsters aren't just like, because a lot of those times when you do have those dodge mechanics, you're able just to be like, I know to dodge right here and I'm not going to get hit. They kind of will mix it up on you and keep you on your toes. Enjoying it a lot. I'm going to have I'm going to have the whole playthrough out soon. So be sure to keep an eye on our YouTube channel for more of that from me.
Nice.
So
awesome.
Enjoying that for sure. And that's really about it. And we played a little bit of Fortnite too, Dan. I'm not going to sleep on that. And we got a dub. So
yes, we did. It was awesome.
It was a good dub. It was wild. It was great.
So Lord, when you play with Dan, does he force you to stick together? Does he get upset with you if you go lone wolf a little bit?
He's got the most common sense. He actually sticks with me. I'm sorry to cut you off, but Maulding, he actually sticks with me and we work as a team. And then he will kind of go squirrely, but he like calls me to me and lets me know where he is. So, we stick together for the most part, especially towards the end. And that's how we got our dub. And I know you already heard the story, but it was freaking awesome. We were on a building and there were some stairs and these people were in a car and they came flying towards us. And I had the Iron Man rockets and I exploded their car. And of course they jump out at the same time. And then we were able to just double team him and take him out. And then there's one other random guy. Yeah. And then the chainsaw battle. I mean, it was
sweet. It was wild. It was like a very chaotic win. It just felt good. Like when it was done, I was like, whoa, that was crazy. We were also in the Mysterio battle where there were all sorts of people just kept coming into that little location we're at. It was just a fun game. It was definitely a standout in the Fortnite career. That's for sure. It was fun.
For sure.
Nice.
Next time we'll have to play 3-player though.
Yeah. For sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, why not? We'll do a good playing with you crew Fortnite.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go.
And you can see why Dan doesn't invite me to any of that.
And to explain how I play. And to explain why we didn't play with Maulding, it was because Lord came over to my house earlier. Yeah. Well, I just want to tell the audience, so like, we're not purposely leaving you out. You were actually commuting over to my place, and we were setting up for our Mario Party game, which went down last Friday, and it was freaking fantastic. We live streamed for our first group live stream on Friday, and you can watch it on demand now on the YouTube channel. And it was just a great time for all. I mean, we sat there and ate pizza and told jokes and a lot of asses kicked. And I'm not going to say who wins, but let's just say it's awesome.
A lot of fun. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was super fun. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun.
But yeah, that was it for me. So Maulding, what about you? How you doing this week in the gaming world?
I spent 10 hours in the Metaphor ReFantazio demo. That was just the demo, was 10 hours. It got to a point where the story had really grabbed me and I could not stop playing it. So I immediately bought the full game. It was just a brilliant idea to do playable demos, man. That's at least the second time that a demo has made me buy a full game. So I highly recommend it. The game is super fun. I think it's much better than Persona. I'm enjoying it a lot more. It's just something about the battles are way better. You see enemies just like in Persona, but if you want to do a little bit grinding, you have the option to kill the enemy in the overworld without going into a fight and getting that XP. You get a little bit less XP than you would if you actually went into a battle, but it is fantastic for grinding, and I've really been enjoying it. I want to play it right now. I like it a lot.
Maulding, you're ready to go. You're like,
I know you're like, let's
go.
Yeah.
Like I'm
like,
ready.
Well, that's it for the pod. Yeah. Time for me to go play video games. So yes, right now I highly recommend it.
The way you're glowing, I'm like, okay, I just figured.
Yeah. But the story, I mean, last night I played for probably 4 or 5 hours, and of that, maybe 2 hours of it was dialogue. Was no fighting at all. It was just 2 hours of going through the story. But I really like this. I really enjoy the story. So it just depends on what your threshold is, your patience threshold of a JRPG.
None over it.
And so mine is high. So especially with the story, I just am really into it. And I think I'm probably a third, maybe a fourth of the way through, and I'm at 30 hours. So I've been really enjoying it. Highly recommend it, but that's taken up most of my time this week. What about you, Dan?
I returned to Starfield, and it because of the Shattered Space expansion, but I gotta say, gentlemen, it's just as shitty as I remember. All of the load screens going in between things, and I feel it's such a chore. But I'm like, oh man, I already paid for this DLC. I paid for the early access $30 crap. I gotta get through this sort of game, and it really hasn't done too much that's new. They really dropped the ball on this one, and now that I don't have that hype around it because it's been out for a year. And actually my last time I played before this was October 13th of last year. So it's been an actual full year since I touched it. And all the hype is gone. It just, I mean, it's a big game. I have respect for the amount of work that went into it, but just, it's not a fun game. So I'm trudging through that one.
What about vehicles? Have you made vehicles yet and able to traverse the planets?
I'm glad you asked. So yes, one of the first things I did was I got a vehicle, and I was all excited, paid my credits, went to my first planet, drove it maybe 10 feet, got it stuck in a rock, couldn't get it out, couldn't figure out the thruster thing because it was like wedged in there, and then got out and just started running. It was like, okay, F that. Because there's nowhere way to respawn your vehicle, and there's a lot of rocks on these random planets, and so F the vehicle.
Oh, sounds like a skill issue.
No, butthole. They need a way to respawn the car or flip it over they do in Fortnite.
I mean, I'm shocked that they don't allow you to do that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
like even why am I blanking on the space game that got remade and is now good? It was terrible at the beginning. No Man's Sky.
No Man's
Sky.
Mass Effect's vehicles.
Yeah.
The very first one was rough. But No Man's Sky, you get to respawn your vehicle. So yeah, that's a huge oversight. Oh,
yeah.
So is it not a horror game?
You know what? To be honest with you, it's so complex with its controls. I was going down one of the factions, Crimson Fleet, and I'm halfway through that. And I was just going to finish Crimson Fleet, and so I'll have more information on that one. But I can tell you, if you weren't a super fan of Starfield, there's no reason to rush back in. Let's move on to the headlines of the week, because there are some games that people can't wait to play, and I can't wait to talk about them. First up is, of course, Call of Duty. Lord, you have a story for us, and I think you've been the representative to actually play a little. Can you tell us about first impressions?
Yeah, well...
It's because he's straight.
Well... to be quite clear, I haven't played it quite yet. I'm waiting to actually get it because the Series S is just a little tight on space right now, so I need to clear up. What Maulding is like 300 gigs that I need to clear up before I can get the game on there.
We were talking a little bit before the pod. I'm downloading it right now. It's 296 or something like that, but it gives you some options to remove some stuff because it's trying to force you to download Modern Warfare 3, I think. Trying to force you to download some other Call of Duty games at the same time. So you can just opt to not do that, and it brings it way down.
Yeah, my poor Series S is about to just take a big hit, but that's okay because I'm ready to get in there and play some Blop 6. And I have been watching a lot of streams. I watched my boy TP play a bunch today. And it's just funny because I feel like I'm getting kind of like mixed messages with the game, that people like love the Omni movement and they loved being able to jump backwards and like spin around on the ground and just like shoot away. But I didn't see that at all in the gameplay that I was watching, at least from like the better players. They were, yes, jumping like you would expect out of a Call of Duty, and but no movement that was like unexpected, if that makes sense. Like I didn't see the Omni movement really in play. I'm sure in like a lobby that I would be in, just in a lower lobby, like you could see the Max Payne-esque looking stuff going down.
Can I get a baby lobby? Is there a lobby where I can play against babies? Because that's the only way I would do any good on that game.
I'm wondering, I mean, I know they're messing around with, I know skill-based matchmaking is always the hot topic, so I'm wondering if they altered that at all going into this game, or you're just going to go in immediately lined up with some sweats. Most likely the latter. And it's just crazy. This dude, it's like the story, this comes from Wesley Yinpool of IGN. It says Call of Duty Black Ops 6 isn't even properly out yet, but one streamer already has a gold camo. Now, this is, first of all, insane, because the laundry list of items you need to do to actually get the gold camo in multiplayer in this game is extensive, to say the least. And not only that, this guy, Reed Boy, he did it in 1 hour. So pretty much a completely incredible feat. He's the first in the world to do it. So he's just out here already grinding it. I mean, he's over there. I'm thinking, what, he's got to be in that New Zealand time zone to
Aren't we all?
I know. Aren't we all in the New Zealand time zone? So this guy is out here grinding already. And it doesn't, I'm trying to remember, Dan, off the top of your head. So when is the official release date for just the regular plebs?
So it's at midnight, your like Thursday night, Friday morning.
Got it. Okay.
But I know for us in California that New Zealand is 20 hours earlier, so that's why we often move to New Zealand for the day.
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on it regardless. I think this is a perfect opportunity. Have you guys heard any like Game Pass buzz? Like, are people excited for, because like I know I am. I think it's really cool that I'm going to get my hands on it via Game Pass. That's awesome.
I like being able to play it and not having to buy it. I like that. I like that a lot.
Agreed. I think this game will do well because of that.
Yeah.
But then to Maulding's point, one of the things I did hear about it was for the people that don't want to mess with the sweats or the crazy online. One, the campaign has longer missions that are supposedly pretty good. I mean, it's early days, so we're going to hear more about it. And so I'm very curious about that. But also one of the, a couple of people that I heard online were talking about the zombies mode and how great that was. Now there's only 2 maps, but it looks super fun. It looks really, like there's a lot of weapons, and this Hellfire rocket will actually like freeze the game for a second when you get this above ground view of the rocket coming in, so you can aim for the zombies and it freezes it. So it's kind of like in a little bit of invincibility. That's like the one tip that I got. So I think for Maulding, you and I should try out the zombies mode, because that's a little bit less sweaty than the online mode, but apparently it's really good. They're saying it's the best zombies in I don't know how long.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. No, that's I mean, can you do 4-player on that, or is it just a 2? Are you?
No, we think we can.
You do? Okay, so maybe we need to get a good playing with you little zombies match in there. That could be darn fun. Yeah, so I'm excited to play. I'm definitely ready to, you know, jump in on. I mean, I'll be Xboxing it up. And like I said, the biggest tip that I have for people who want to grind this game is definitely grind the multiplayer in Black Ops, and then once the Warzone rolls around, you'll have all your guns ready to go for Warzone. Otherwise, if you don't have that multiplayer grind in there, dropping into Warzone with super low level guns and trying to grind in that mode is like such a pain. So try to jump in the game as early as possible and get those multiplayer maps locked in.
Pro tip, I also I like to play. I'm happy that it's going to be free because then I can play right away and hopefully people won't know the maps as well as when I last tried to play a Call of Duty game like 2 years after it came out, and just I had no idea where anything was and I was just getting sniped like left and right. I had no chance. So being able to play it right off the bat is a huge win.
Yeah. No, totally agree. So I'll report back when I play more.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Our next story, though, is not as happy, and it's about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Basically, I'm sure everyone's aware here that the game actually got moved from its original November 15th date, and it was pushed earlier this month, or they announced that it would be pushed to February 14th of next year. So that's not a huge surprise. And to be honest with you, Ubisoft games truly are always so buggy that I was like, okay, this could be. They actually are maybe doing, consumer friendly here. This is a good thing. But then they came out this week and they said essentially they canceled all of the DLC for the game. And then they're no longer doing an early access period of 3 days now that the collector's edition has been changed. So it's a huge change for this game. They're not dipping into the, early fund as much. They've reduced the amount of things that they're going to be putting out in the collector's edition and wiped out the DLC that these games are really, really known for, especially the Viking one, which had years and years of DLC. This one is getting their DLC cut immediately. And so that's why they dropped the price of the collector's edition, as well as a few other items will no longer be in the collector's edition. So the collector's edition dropped $50 from $279 to $229. It will still include the game, a statue of the dual protagonists, an art book, a life-size replica of the katana Suba, which is like the handle or the wrist guard, a world map, wall scroll, and 2 lithographs for that $229 price tag. This is a really interesting change for the game. People are saying Tencent invested a lot of money in Ubisoft and currently isn't really happy with where they're sitting in the stock market and their valuations. And this is a real vote of no confidence if I'm going to be a Star Wars nerd and kind of say, what I think in terms of the release plan here. But what does this signal for you guys, and what do you think it means?
Maulding.
Yeah, that they don't have confidence in the product, or that people aren't buying it. But my God, who's buying $250? Who's putting that money into a video game that they don't know what it's gonna play like? That it is an Ubisoft. You spoke about it. It's true. They're notoriously buggy. I didn't necessarily have a lot of fun with Valhalla. I thought it was a grind of a game that was way too long and just not I didn't even complete it. I was not interested in where it was going. Beautiful. It was gorgeous. So I'm hoping that this one matches that aesthetic, but dropping $250 on a game is not a thing that I'm interested in. And I'm guessing if they are cutting loose on some of this stuff, a lot of people are in that same boat. So that would be my guess, that they're seeing that, hey, it's not moving a lot of product. Let's cut some of these things out and bring down the price a little bit and see if that entices anyone.
Yeah. Well, why would they do this? I'm thinking Ghost of Yotai has something to do with this, because I think they are sweating, first of all. And I'm thinking, okay, they have that 3-day window, the early access window, where I think gamers can go online and thrash their game on the internet. Maybe people pull their pre-orders.
That's a good point.
And I'm thinking there's a big issue. I think that is like what they're really concerned about, because they just don't. Yeah, you're right. Like you said, Maulding, they don't have confidence in this product. This product has been under the microscope since like its
over a
conception.
year.
Yeah. So it's to me a long road for them in this one, and I think they're just trying to figure out any way to kind of salvage the game. And I really think when I saw they were going to take away the early access, I'm like, okay, they just don't want this thing to get raked over the coals and have people back out from the regular release date. So it's all going to come out at once. Maybe they won't give out the review codes like they normally would to the outlets. We're going to see the whole gambit.
You're calling it for sure.
Yeah. And so and then we'll just kind of see how the game releases. And I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Dan? Do you think that's kind of where
I hadn't really thought about that early release window and why it was removed, but I think you nailed it. And I do think, look, this game is going to probably suffer from the same thing all the other Assassin's Creed. And I think, Maulding, you nailed it when you said a lot of the bloat and like crap that's just not fun and the bugs. And I think, look, Assassin's Creed Mirage was supposed to be DLC, and it got spun off into its own game. And they convinced people, they sure pulled the wool over everyone's eyes, saying that this is a return to form for Assassin's Creed, and it's more about stealth without all the other options. And it was really turned out to be just more of the same. And then they didn't build in as many options. And the movement control apparently wasn't very good in Mirage. I think they got themselves in a lot of hot water with gamers, rightfully or wrongfully. Well, wrongfully, because I think it's with racist gamers, but and the pushback about accuracy, and they've just had so many problems that they have very little confidence in this product. They have had a troublesome track record recently with their games, and I think that they need to really change, kind of pivot and take a good hard look at the content that they're putting out there and change things. And that might be what's happening here. They're kind of seeing like, okay, this has got to be the last time. That's my hope, because they've been a good company in the past, but they just really aren't, bringing it home anymore.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm nervous for this one. I think
me too.
And it's weird. Like, if they're doing this, I also think it's strange that they delayed the game also. Why? Yeah. If they really think it needs like a lot more polish and they're just like, we're not going to do early access, it just seems all around a little strange to me.
Yeah. I mean, it also strange was they put out this statement on Discord. They led with, we're reducing the price of the collector's edition by $50, going from $279 to $229. Oh, and by the way, we're getting rid of the DLC and the early access period. So they kind of tried to make the headline, we're reducing the price, when really it was like all the stuff that I'm like, okay, that's a nice little cute kind of PR spin. And you're doing it in Discord. So maybe, I don't know. It was just so weird. But hopefully they pull things together. They are a good studio. They have put out good products before. But speaking of studios that should have been good and haven't put out any products, Maulding, you have this story.
Yeah, absolutely. So Netflix had a AAA game studio that they were all prepared to create some games with, and it has now already been shut down. So this story was broken by Steven Tortillo from GameFile. He's a pretty famous game journalist. I think he used to be the editor of Kotaku, or he used to be the editor of one of the other big gaming sites. I think it was Kotaku. But so a scoop from a few days ago, one of Netflix's most intriguing video game studios is no more. The company's Southern California game studio, one of a handful of internal studios assembled by Netflix in recent years as part of its expansion into video games, has been shut down, GameFile learned. The studio, also known as Team Blue, seemed poised to break the mold of what Netflix is doing in gaming. Early hints about the team's work suggested it was pursuing a big-budget, multi-device strategy, signifying the ambitious edge of Netflix's internal or initial mobile focused expansion. The studio reportedly had brought on huge talent from other games, such as Overwatch executive producer Chaco Sunny, Halo creative lead Joseph Staten, the Coalition's Jerry Edsall, Blizzard and Bungie's Gavin Irby, and Sony's Santa Monica art director Raphael Grassetti, and many more. So as of October 2024, this month, however, Netflix has shut down Team Blue, and all those big hires are no longer at the company. A company rep confirmed to GameFile this week. Paul Tassi, I'm a big fan of him at Forbes, commented on this story, adding that he thought the lesson here is that game development is not about trying to assemble the Avengers of game devs from other studios, but rather having a clear, coherent vision of what you're trying to make in the first place, and that apparently did not come together. We had talked about Netflix and their games a few months ago because I poked a little bit of fun at Lord for being a huge fan of Emily in Paris. And we joked about them being, because what Netflix was doing is taking some of their IP and making mobile games and making games out of them. And we joked a little bit about an Emily in Paris strip game that could have been fun for you and your wife to play.
Need it.
They still need it. So here's a big studio. What caught my eye on it is they shut this studio down. No games. It had made no games. So it wasn't based on performance of what they put together. It was probably based on, I don't know, internal budgeting. That group of people could not have been a cheap group of people to assemble.
No way.
And they must have not seen anything come out of it that they liked. That's my assumption, that they were putting forth some stuff that just didn't gel with the executives, with the higher ups, and so they shut it down. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Okay, I'm dying to chomp at the bit. If you don't mind, Lord, I'm gonna. Okay, here's what I think. You and I respect your analysis, but I think the decision came from the data. My guess is you're right. It was like an Avengers team of video game developers, and they probably did absolutely nothing wrong. They're really talented people that worked on some really big properties. But what's happening here, I think, is even bigger than this game. I think it's basically Netflix is signaling what's working for them and what's not working for them in the game space. Because when we talked about Netflix games, we all three said, well, I mean, they're small little experiences. We don't know much about it. Where are they going? What are they doing? And I think this is a clear indication that big games, these big AAA budget games that they were going to build, are not what's working on the platform. I think it's the Emily in Paris that you joke about that literally are doing, what they wanted to do. They're probably seeing, and that's just a story-based game. You can't hire super big talent to build something so small and frankly,
it's
pretty
not going to be a first-person shooter, Emily in Paris.
Yeah,
she's landing on the Eiffel Tower, mowing people down.
Yeah, make fun of my beret now, motherfucker. I can see it.
Eat my baguette.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I would play that, but I think that's probably what is not working. So I think that this is even bigger news than we realize. This is signaling a shift in their strategy for games in general. I think we are going to see smaller games, and then I think maybe their games are going to go away because you're not seeing the numbers, the retention, and the playtime, which I'm guessing they're not, because honestly, when I played Netflix games, I'm only basing it off my experience because I'll play a free game anywhere I can get it. The mobile experience tends to be a little bit smaller. It tends to be bite-sized. It tends to be these games. And when I tried to play on my device, on my TV, I couldn't do it for more than 5-10 minutes. And I think that they are probably scared off when they see these metrics. So that's my take.
Totally.
Yeah, sounds good.
Something that I do find interesting is how much Netflix does promote their games now. They have like a totally centered featured row with all their games.
They're trying.
And I was just talking to one of my coworkers and I asked her, I'm like, have you seen Netflix? They are like going all in on this gaming scene. Like, check this out. Like, you can see it's right in the center. And she's like, oh, that's so funny. I'm playing this like point and click mystery adventure game. And she was like, I'm obsessed. Like I play it all the time. I'm like and that I think that just goes to your guys' point. They're not trying to make an Overwatch-esque game. It's gonna be an indie. They could literally hire a fresh out of college like intern to practically get these things up and running.
Yep.
It's not like a rocket science. It doesn't need a huge pedigree. It just needs like honestly a little bit of like, I think they just need a little bit of creativity, and you got yourself a little easy game that you can play on your mobile device. So I'm not super surprised. Maybe there was also a bit of like clash of egos too. That was something that just kind of popped in my head. You have all these people trying to work at a brand new thing. Maybe they had unlimited money, so they had completely different viewpoints.
We know Netflix has money too.
Yeah,
we know
exactly.
they shovel money.
So,
yeah.
So it's like, it's definitely possible that they just couldn't decide what they want to do. And it just kind of dissolved, which is like, that's like if, like a superstar basketball team just couldn't make it happen. Like they just had too many egos. It just fell apart. It's totally possible, but I think it's more so just, I think you're right. Just the games are changing. They don't need humongous names attached. They'll just make it work kind of more on a budget.
Here's my question on it. What's Netflix's goal here? Because it's not, are they trying to get people who are going to sign up for Netflix to play the games? No, I can't imagine that. Is this added value to people who are already Netflix subscribers and gamers, and they're trying to get like a crossover? Like, because I can't imagine me being a gamer, I'm not going to sign up for Netflix to play games. So who are they reaching out to?
I think just from kind of experience a little bit, I think it's more just like app time. And so you just like, you have, you might have like a casual viewer who watches, let's say an episode of Emily in Paris. They click out. They normally only watch for 1 hour, but then they're like, oh, maybe I'll play this game. And then they sink 3 hours into a game real fast. And then you get a 4-hour combined block of time, which looks really good to like advertisers.
Yeah, I think two things.
Well, they're not doing unless they're doing advertising on the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eventually, that's where it would have to go.
It would look good towards investors, so they would be like, "Hey, we just started this game studio, and now we have retention, and now people are spending, another 2 hours on the app because of these games, and then that gets them more investor money." That makes sense. That totally.
I think, and I think they're going to look again at their data, and they're going to say, okay, we released X amount of games. What did that do to churn? Because their hope is here, parents are like, I don't want to pay for Netflix anymore, and the kid or something is like, oh, I'm still playing this game. Please don't, cancel. You can't cancel because now I'm playing this game. So they're waiting to see that metric that's showing that the churn is stopping, and that's really where
Emily
it's going.
Just invaded the Louvre. I gotta keep going.
I gotta see it through.
And that the other thing they want to see is probably long term. Hey, can we spin this off like Apple games? Because Apple has their own subscription game. This will become its own subscription once we make it super popular.
That's an excellent point.
I see that's
building it up right now and then spinning it off. That's a good.
So I think that's their business strategy. I just don't think they're having the success with it that they anticipated, or at least not having the success with the big games. They're probably having them with the story-based games, like you guys said.
Yes,
that makes sense.
So, yeah,
man.
Good takes. Everyone.
Yeah, really good takes.
All right, good job, gentlemen. Now we need to solve Spider-Man 2 not getting any DLC. What's going on there, Lord?
So this is an interesting one. Kind of out of nowhere. Guess what? And this was against all fans' hopes and dreams. Spider-Man 2 is not getting any DLC. Surprise, surprise. Now, don't even get me started because my personal take is Spider-Man 2 was a little bit of a lackluster situation to begin with. So I'm okay. This comes from Wesley Inpool again. I just, love Wesley's work. Yeah. So
he's your Paul Tassi.
Yeah, he's my Paul Tassi. So I'm kind of losing my place on here, of course. But basically what happened was
Well, I'm surprised here actually because part 1 was notorious for its DLC. It was really good. Then with Miles Morales, that spinoff, people were like, "Oh, okay, it's smaller, but it was good. You know, it's fine." And then 2 was supposed to be this return to form and be really great. And then now it sounds like, and then they've got Insomniac, one of the best studios in the world. So I'm just like, whoa! I didn't see this. I thought there'd always be more, but maybe they're not seeing the sales that they expect. I don't know.
I just kind of think that it's got to be a sales situation, right? I just don't think this game. Well, it got announced at the PlayStation showcase, and it had that huge, long, like 10-minute, special just dedicated to this game. It showed some gameplay. I initially was just like, oh my gosh, like we're getting more Spider-Man. So that my initial thought is like, are we at some sort of plateau on hero-based shooters? I know Marvel Rivals is about to drop, but like, have we had almost enough as video gamers? Like if they went out and announced Spider-Man 3 tomorrow, would you be hyped and like ready to pre-order that?
No, I'm over Spider-Man for sure. But
yeah,
I didn't know if everybody else was, and I thought for sure it was a shoo-in, and it's such a good studio, and there's so many more stories they could have told. And to give up, maybe they really just didn't see the sales that they were expecting.
Yeah. So in the story, did they cancel DLC or did they not plan DLC at all?
No, well, the fans thought they did see hints of DLC. Okay, this is a little tidbit here. But fans just hope for Spider-Man 2 story DLC. They expected it after the game itself left a number of threads that Insomniac might have pulled on for additional content, including the introduction of Carnage. So there was like little tidbits throughout the game that looked like there was going to be DLC. So I think something must have changed along the lines to probably get it removed. It's also a little strange. This is apparently the quickest PlayStation exclusive game to come to PC, and that's about to launch in January. So I'm not sure quite what to make of it. It just seems, maybe you're right. Like Dan, maybe the sales weren't there. They're trying to get the game onto PC and just kind of move on. Like it was in Wesley's article, they do talk about Insomniac maybe hankering to move on to Wolverine and go on to a brand new project. It's tough to say what they're doing here, but it seems odd that the DLC that was teased, and the fans, they know if they're seeing like a tease to a DLC and they get rid of it. So strange.
Well, here's my guess. They were going to make it a DLC. They decided to spin it off and make its own game, like the Miles Morales. That's my guess. That they might come out. I like that. They might come out with a Carnage game. Carnage is a super, super popular hero or villain. So maybe you get to play as Carnage. That would be fun. Right.
And you need to get that red Blu-ray disc too. That is what we need. You remember the SNES Carnage little red cart? Oh, so good. I hope so. I mean, that is a much happier ending, Maulding. I think we go with that.
Yeah, I like it. I vote that. Well, speaking of games that sound really exciting, Monster Hunter's around the corner, and Maulding, you had a story for us on this.
Yes, I am the resident Monster Hunter expert / fan. So Ethan Gash from Kotaku talked about this. The official release of Monster Hunter Wilds is months away, but the hit franchise's first mainline sequel built from the ground up for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S will be available to try for free at the end of October in its first open beta test. PlayStation Plus subscribers in particular will get a chance to start playing 3 days early. An open beta test free to all players on PS5 and the Xbox and PC kicks off on Halloween and runs into early November. There are 3 segments to it, including a character creator with characters transferable to the main game, thankfully, opening story missions, and a free roaming, I'm going to butcher this, Doshaguma hunt. It's worth noting that PS Plus and Xbox Live are not required to play the online beta, which is a huge plus. The test also features crossplay, so you can meet up with your friends even if they're on a different platform. Everyone who participates gets a pendant and an item pack that can be used in the final game. Now, I am a fan of demos. I am not so much a fan of open betas because I don't want to stop playing the game. So I don't think I'm actually going to try this out because I don't want to get my whistle wet and then not be able to continue playing the game. So I'm probably not going to opt in for this, but I love the fact that people will be able to play it. I want to see some reactions to it. So I know neither of you are excited for this game, but one of the big things I am also excited for is crossplay. This is the first thing that I've seen about this game being able to play crossplay, and I have a couple of friends who play on other platforms, and I'm going to be looking forward to going on some hunts with them, not looking on going on hunts with you two since you will not be playing the game.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
you
we
guys
won't even
like
be missed out there.
No, I know. It's fine. I'll be doing my own thing and you guys can be doing whatever you're doing. Do you guys like open betas? Do you participate in them?
I do. I feel like some games just stay in the open. I feel like it's a slippery slope with these open betas because some of these games never come out of a beta stage or early access stage.
Ark
like
famously had like an 8-year beta. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Escape from Tarkov is still in some sort of beta early access. Like there's just some games that never ever come out. So I think Monster Hunter is in a little bit of a different realm, but it's still, whenever I think of it anymore, I just think of it just gives me unreleased or like unpolished game and just never going to be released. So
betas make you feel that.
Betas.
Yeah.
Yes. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's for a limited trial on a game that I'm iffy about and I have nothing else to play and the progress does carry over and Maulding won't shut up and is forcing me, then yes, then I will check it out. But for the most part, I pretty much know already what I'm walking into, whether it's good or bad. So betas actually have the tendency to turn me off more than they, pull me in on things. So I do try them when I need them. Other times, for some reason, like Dragon Age, I'm kind of iffy on that one, but I'm still jumping in completely, so it really depends on where I stand on the game. I like them. I wish they're more available, but they don't always lead to the results that I expect.
Totally.
Yeah,
I agree.
Let's actually move on to the discussion topics and the emails of the week, gentlemen. First up, Maulding, you had an interesting topic for us.
Yeah, this was mine. I was thinking earlier this week about some of my favorite performances, my favorite voiceover and mocap performances, and so I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on anything that you've seen that has left an impression on you. And so I'll just start off. When I played the most recent Final Fantasy game, I was completely floored. This is Final Fantasy 16. Completely floored by, well, not only the main guy's name, who I'm blanking on what his name is because he's so handsome and charismatic on Twitter. But the one that really got me is Ralph Ineson as Sid. His voice is so good at a video game. I could not believe it. Like, I just wanted to hear him more and more. It was just this really deep, gruff voice. It really did a great job of bringing out Sid's character. It fit him really well. Everything just came together so perfectly for that character. And so that was what really inspired me to ask this question, because it has left an impression on me that will go on for a very long time. If you don't know who Ralph Ineson is, he's this big British guy. The movie that really stands out for me, he's been in a lot of stuff, but if you ever saw The Witch, from a few years ago, about a family in like the or the 1800s or something like that in the backwoods, and it was a witch. He was the dad in that, but I didn't look up what the other stuff is in. But he's very noticeable, his voice. So what about you guys? Any thing that's your favorites?
Maulding, that is such a good pick because he totally was a standout for me too.
Yeah.
In Final Fantasy 16, he's just like he's a star, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
I think the character model that they gave him fits really well, even though it looks very different from the actor, which I think is also kind of like an interesting, like it worked really well. Like it's really cool. For me, it had to be, it had to be Tommy Earl Jenkins from Death Stranding. And the mocap in that game just all around is mind blowing.
The best part of that game.
Oh, for sure.
Those are the actors in that game.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
And there's one particular moment at the end where things are just kind of unraveling and the story is coming together, which is like amazing to say because a lot of people, it's just kind of like a crazy all over the place story. This thing's coming together. He's having this super emotional moment, and people have gone on the internet and just praised it as one of the best. And I will say it's very, very incredible, super powerful. I think everybody who has played that game and completed it knows which part I'm talking about. But I gotta say, when motion capture is done correctly, it definitely can have like a good, strong impact. It's just, just thinking about what really makes that emotional stir, and this is one of those times.
So did he appear in the first 3 hours of that game? Because if not, then I didn't see him.
Yeah, he was Die Hard Man.
He was. Oh, I'd
literally.
Have to look him
Yeah. Oh, he has that skull like mask on. So that's ringing a bell.
Is he with a? Is he the? I'll look it up. I don't remember.
Look it up.
Nice.
Well, then mine would be, of course, my real answer is going to be The Last of Us 2, but I don't want to talk too much about that game because I already know that I have. And the ending of that game is just so fantastic. The two women and their acting is incredible. I don't want to build it up too high because it's so like done in a really cool and mellow way, but that's, I would say, the end of Last of Us 2. But then because I've talked about that too much, I wanted to pick something else, and it was something that kind of struck me out of left field, and it was I think the motion capture of the scene, the way it was played out. And forgive me, I don't remember who played Spider-Man in the very first game in 2018, but it was Spider-Man. And I think this is the reason that this scene affected me, was because I just didn't expect anything this smart in terms of script writing. And it was kind of a surprise of what happened. But essentially, for those of you who don't know, Spider-Man, has there's a disease plaguing the city called the Devil's Breath, I believe. And Spider-Man has found the cure to this. And he's really excited because Aunt May, unfortunately, is really ill with this as well. And not only is he going to, save her, he's going to save the city. And so he, fights all the bad guys, gets the serum, goes to the hospital, and Aunt May's on one side and the scientist is on the other, and he comes in and he hands them the serum, and then the scientist is like, okay, great, this is perfect, but we're gonna need at least a day to synthesize it, and we're gonna need to use all of it to make the cure. And at this point, Spider-Man has to make a decision whether he uses it on Aunt May or he saves the New York City. And unfortunately, it's soul wrenching, but he has to choose New York City. And then he walks over to Aunt May's bedside, still in costume, and says, "You're going to be fine, ma'am," and kind of lies to her as she's kind of coughing and on her way out. And then she says, "Peter, I know it's you. I know it's always been you." He gets totally emotional. He pulls off the mask and he's crying. She says how proud she is of him, and she dies. So that is some of the best motion capture I think I've seen in a long time.
I got goosebumps, Dan. That was a well-told little story.
Yeah, I never finished the game, so spoiler alert for me, but the game is 10 years old or something like that.
2018, so you had time to play
No, I know, I'm just joking.
Wait, I'm not joking, but did I say I was done with Spider-Man? I'm ready to go back.
Yeah, now I want to play and find out how it ends.
Yeah. That sounds awesome, actually. Jeez, wild. Yeah. Okay, impressive.
It definitely put me through it. All right. So the second question, though, we had was also a good one. And Lord, was this yours?
This was mine. Yeah. So, this is just something that I've always pondered. It's what drives you to be an achievement hunter? And I'll just go first because mine is not the most, because I'm not exactly an achievement hunter, admittedly. So if I was an achievement hunter, I'd definitely do it for the clout and the social standing as a gamer, and I would flex it on everybody. And as often as I possibly could, I would be very vain about it. And that would be my honest to God reason for going in and making sure I'm 100, or getting every bit of achievement I could out of a game. What about you guys? What is it?
So for me, it adds a record of my accomplishments to it for sure. Like that, I like to be able to go back and see. I think that's what you said, right? That. Oh no, sorry, I got distracted because my dog. So I'm a little discombobulated. So it adds like a record of my accomplishments to the game. And to be perfectly frank, I really love the sound it makes with Xbox.
Pavlovian. Yes,
when I get it.
Yeah,
there really is like a little. I talked about it in I talked about it in my Legend of Zelda review, that it like tickles my lizard brain, some of the sound effects, and that's what that sound does for me. And I love the fact that there's a difference in the sound between a regular achievement and a rare achievement. And when I get that little rare achievement sound, and I'm like, diamond. Ooh, yeah, and I'm like, I'm so much better than everybody else in this
and
game.
It tells you how much better you are than everybody else because it gives you the percentage.
So I was playing, I've been playing Dead by Daylight because of the new event, the Halloween event. And so I've been trying to do some adept achievements for some of the new characters that I've missed out. And I had one that I got the adept achievement, and it was like 0.09% of people had gotten it. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. 0.09%. I am the best player at this game. Like, I felt so good about it.
Oh, for sure. Oh, that's funny. I would definitely say all of that what you two just mentioned, but also I love what initially got me hooked on them was, and I love when developers use them as a way to influence the player to do something other than normally play the game. I get a lot more value out of a game because, yes, there's complete chapter 1, complete chapter 2, complete chapter 3. But then there are these ones that are just like, okay, shoot 3 people in the head with the same chainsaw firing gun, or there's like climb to the top of the mountain and jump off, which is something I would probably do anyway in a game. But like they give you these small challenges, and that it kind of extends the life of the game. It makes me sometimes try weapons I wouldn't have tried otherwise because I want to get the achievement. It gives me more life to the game, and it makes me play in ways I'm lazy. I find one thing that works and I stick with it. And this is a really good incentive to have me break the mold and try something else, and I get more life out of the game and I have a lot more fun. So for me, it's recontextualizing how I play the game when I'm after these achievements and going through them. And also it's kind of creating a memory. I can remember, oh yeah, like in Dead Island 2, when I needed to shoot those 5 people in the head, I got them all up against the fence, and and I think about the games that I've played, and if I go back and I look at the achievements, because I actually do on occasion, just to see what I have left on them. I call it if there's any meat left on the bone. I'm always like finishing a game, and then I go back to see if there's any meat left on the bone, and it's these achievements that I'm really after, and they kind of extend the life of the game, but they also give me a memory if I have to like do something a certain way. So I think that's pretty much it. It's just good times, more good times.
I also have a little bit of a reverse effect though. If I have received a vast majority of the achievements, I sometimes won't play a game again if there aren't still achievements for me to get. So there's it's a little bit of a double-edged sword for me sometimes.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's always been like, man, I should go work at Xbox because I've always wanted, or PlayStation, I've always wanted to get inside and be like, okay, this is what you need to do. You need a way to like make me double my achievements, because I secretly will like have a game that will re-release. And I'm like, well, is it the same achievements, or is it, oh, Witcher 3, new edition, same game I love, but it's all the achievements are locked? Yes, I will buy that game and play it all over again because the achievements. You're totally right. It makes me rebuy games when they're
I've definitely bought it. Yes, I have definitely been happy about playing a game that I've already bought twice to get more achievements for it.
Agreed. And if I can't get any achievements, I'm like, why should I play anymore?
Interesting. How often do you think getting achievements, you've gotten like a majority of the achievements before, like, say, halfway into the game? Does that happen? Or is it more like, is it more towards the end? Or like, do you think it goes the whole way?
Yeah,
and also because of and one of the reasons I play at a higher difficulty on some games is because I'm after the higher difficulty achievement a lot of the time.
I check and see if it has that, and if it doesn't, then I'm like, okay, I'll go normal. But then if it does have it, I'm like, okay, I'll start it really hard, and if it really sucks, then I'm gonna leave. But I try and go for that too.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
That's awesome. All right, I've now seen inside the mind of an achievement hunter, and I'm satisfied.
And it is dark and dirty.
Just how we like it. All right, that pretty much wraps up everything we have for this week. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're listening on the podcast, please tell a friend. And on behalf of Matt Maulding, Matt Lord, and myself, Dan Whitehill, thanks for joining us. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Good playing with you.